Hi guys, today I had some very sad news I needed to share with everyone. It's something that if you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or other social media sites, you already know this, but unfortunately one of our ferrets, Dobby, passed away. It actually happened 15 days ago, October 14th it was. I should have shared it then, but I honestly just didn't have the heart to talk about it. It took me a while to even just post it on our Instagram and Facebook and stuff. It's not something I like to think about. He was very young. We'd only had him 2 years about, and I think he was only a few months old when we got him. So he was very young and it was very unexpected. You know, one of the reasons I wanted to talk about it and share it is some people don't think grieving for pets is normal. We actually ended up not going to a family event because of it. It was pretty hard for both me and my husband. Part of it was because of how it happened, but losing any pet anyway, even if it's expected, it can be very gut-wrenching. It's very horrible. I'm 30 years old and I haven't cried that much in a very, very long time. So grieving for pets, it's normal. To us, our pets are our family. They're like an extension of our children. We have 3 human kids and then we have all of our furry and feathery kids. I also wanted to share how it happened. If you don't want to hear how it happened, I definitely would not watch this part of the video. It was very hard for me. It was very hard to accept how it happened. But I wanted to share so that way those with ferrets could maybe avoid the same type of accident that had happened with us. Ferrets are not cage animals. They need a lot of free roam time. It's actually considered very cruel to have them in a cage 24/7. So, like you can see in a lot of our videos, our ferrets, if we're home and we're not sleeping, they're out of their cage. We're here with them, so I mean it's not like we leave or you know they're by themselves, but we have a very big they have free roam of our bedroom and our master bathroom. Our bedroom I think is like 12 by 14 feet and our master bathroom is probably, I don't know, like another 8 by 10 feet. It's a lot of room. It's an abnormally sized bedroom and master bathroom, so they have plenty of room. Unfortunately, ferrets are also very inquisitive creatures. They get in a lot of mischief. They're very curious of everything. Dobby, actually we had lost Dobby outside when we first, shortly after we had first gotten him, I think for 3 or 4 days outside. He escaped out of the room, escaped out of the house, and thankfully due to some flyers, we were able to actually get him back because some other people found him. But, I mean, it kind of just shows you how curious they are. They want more, they want to see more. Dobby was definitely our biggest adventurer out of all of them. He was fearless, brave. He wanted to see the whole world. But when you free roam, you have to obviously ferret proof wherever their free roam area is. Same way you would baby proof or puppy proof an area. It's hard to ever do any of it 100%. We're always very careful anytime we see that something is an issue. We change it, we fix it, and we thought everything was perfect. We have the 2 double ferret nation cages attached. Dobby was notorious to always climbing it. He would actually climb and then get on top. It's a very high up. The cage, I think, is about my height, if not pretty close. And I'm 5'7", so it's a pretty tall cage. I ended up covering the bottom portions of it with plexiglass so he couldn't grab the bottom portions to be able to get himself up. It was Saturday, I remember I'd let him out. I think it was like 8:30 in the morning. We were in here with them, didn't notice anything. I think 10:30 at night, I went to go look for them before we went to bed to put them all away. And that's when I couldn't find Dobby. My first panic when I tore apart everything was I thought he somehow got loose again. And I realized there was no way possible because we've pretty well ferret-proofed the area where our bedroom door is with plexiglass and a baby gate and things like that. So I tore apart everywhere their normal hiding spots are. We have a couple hanging beds, a couple baskets I filled with, like a drawer basket with blankets, a couple different areas that I purposely put so that way they can kind of hide themselves and I know where to look for them. They also sometimes will just go back to their cage. So 2 of them are already actually in their cage sleeping. Most of the time they play for maybe 4-6 hours at the most, and then usually the rest of the day they sleep anyway, so we hadn't seen them for a while, so I had assumed they'd went to bed earlier in the day like they normally do. But I found the 3, and then I was tearing apart everything for Dobby, and I started looking underneath their cage. Underneath their cage I have like the rug area so they can kind of play and sleep underneath there, and a lot of the times they'll crawl underneath the rugs and fall asleep under there. And that is where somehow, I don't know how he did it, he had either found a way to climb to the top of his cage, and I guess he had to have fallen behind, or he somehow from underneath tried climbing up, because when I found him, he was unfortunately stuck between the wall and the cage. I don't know, he was definitely pretty far gone, so whatever had happened probably happened earlier in the day. I'd like to think that whatever did happen happened quick. I didn't really believe it when I found him. It was hard. I started crying pretty hysterically, and their cage is on the other side of one of our French doors to our bathroom, and Fred, my husband, was actually in the shower at the time, and he had heard me, and I was sitting on the floor, because that's where I was looking for him when I found him. And he had heard me and opened the shower door and tried to kept asking me what was wrong. Later he said he honestly thought maybe one of the dogs mauled me because I was so hysterical. But I couldn't get any words out. I can't believe how emotional and bad it was. You know, I couldn't even say anything. I had choked out some words, and I finally was able to tell him that Dobby had passed away. I had a hard time. I don't know if I didn't want him to see him. I don't really know what I was thinking, but he kept asking where is he? And I finally gestured where he was, and actually it was pretty rough on Fred too. So, you know, animals are family. You know, he was our first ferret. He's the reason why we're such ferret lovers now. And, you know, it's just, we're in a little bit of a better place now. It's been 15 days. I don't think we'll ever be over it again. I think one of the reasons I reacted so badly is I put a lot of blame on myself. A lot of what ifs went through my mind. What if I would have put him away earlier? Normally we work Saturdays, you know, what if we worked that day? Just so many things, and I blamed a lot of it on myself, which obviously it wasn't my fault. You know, Fred tried helping me through that, because, you know, he knows it happens a lot to ferrets, unfortunately. I'm in a lot of ferret groups on Facebook, and, you know, I posted to them what happened, and sadly a lot of people shared similar stories. Not necessarily that specific thing happening to their ferrets, but unfortunately, because of their curious nature, a lot of different things unfortunately end up basically, you know, a lot of different things take the lives of ferrets. You know, since then, I feel I'm way more, I don't want to say cautious, but I'm so worried every time they're out of the cage. I feel like it's caused where I don't let them out as much, which isn't really fair to them. You know, when they are out, I'm constantly checking, where are they? You know, do you see them? You know, trying to keep tabs on them at all times. It's not always the easiest thing, and I know I can't do that forever. So I'm sure eventually, you know, I probably won't feel like that forever, but right now that's how I am. So that happened late Saturday night. We weren't really sure what we should do with him, so we ended up actually taking him to our veterinarian on Monday. We had him cremated. We didn't keep his ashes or anything, but we did have him cremated, and we did have made, I wanted to share this, and it's taking a lot not to bawl my eyes out right now. So, but they made this. It's his little footprints on his name. So I have that. I didn't actually intend on getting that. Fred surprised me and ended up paying to have that done because he knew I'd appreciate it. So I do have that. Other than that, we have all the great memories with him. We just try to think, Dobby had an amazing life for a ferret. They have a huge cage. They're out all the time. We go camping with them, hiking with them. They haven't spent a miserable life in a tiny cage or anything, so we just try to think the happy thoughts. What's hard is anytime we think of some of his little quirks and stuff like that. They all have such different personalities, and one of the things I know that my husband misses is he loved food. He was one of the only ferrets that would actually eat meat and actually basically anything. And anytime we'd bring food in the bedroom, Dobby was there. Dobby would beg for food from Fred all the time. And I know when he brings food in, I know he misses that. As annoying as it was sometimes, I know it drove him nuts because he would jump on, because usually he'd eat or snack at his computer desk, and Dobby would find a way to climb up there every single time. So even though it drove him nuts, I know it's something that Fred really misses. But that's the best way to cope, is just try to remember the happy thoughts, try to think of all the good times, and remember that they had a very good life. Something else I also wanted to share with you guys. This is probably not the best coping mechanism per se, but we actually did end up getting another ferret, so we still have 4. I wouldn't recommend it for most people. It probably was not the most rational decision we made. We obviously have the means to take care of 4 because we had 4, but we ended up going out. There was a couple pet stores in our area that I know have ferrets, and we planned on going to all of them. We only actually made it to the second one, and it was kind of ironic because we get a lot of our food and stuff from this little boutique type pet store near us, and they had a ferret there that we always would take our ferrets usually in their little stroller to go there. So they knew us as the crazy ferret people, and we'd played with him the one time we went there. This one boy that was there, and he was adorable. We loved him. We always said though 4 was our max. We could never do more than 4. We could probably do more if we didn't camp and hike with them, but camping and hiking with them any more than 4 is definitely difficult. It's easy because Fred can deal with 2 and I can deal with 2. A 5th one would just throw everything off. So of course we didn't get the boy, and after this happened, we were looking for a 4th ferret again. I had thought we had gone to that store and I thought he'd already sold, but when we got there, he was actually still there. I couldn't believe it. We were pretty surprised. He was a lot bigger than when we remember seeing him the first time, and we actually were discussing with the people there. We actually thought he was pretty fat, and so did actually some of the store workers too, because he was abnormally big for a ferret. They were a little worried that he was having some issues because ferrets bond very closely to each other. It's why people recommend if you get more than 1, you should have at least 3, never just 2. Because if something does happen to one of them, the other one will be lonely, and I guess it could take a toll on them where they won't eat, they'll be depressed, things like that. Well, his brother had sold, so I guess he'd been alone for a few months. And they said, he'd put on the weight. He wasn't as super active, which I totally believe probably did happen. He was probably pretty depressed. But took him home. He was a lot bigger than our guys. And I actually ended up doing some research and found out apparently there are 2 different types of ferret bodies. They compare them to 2 different dog breeds. One is considered the Whippet style ferret, and one is the bulldog. The Whippet, like the Whippet dog, are all the really skinny, smaller versions of them, which is like the ones that we have. And the bulldog is a bulkier version, just like a bulldog would be. He is definitely a bulldog type, so he's definitely not fat. But you can definitely tell a difference when you see him with the other boys. Because we did get him pretty quickly after losing Dobby, we had a very hard time naming him. He actually didn't get a name for, I think it was about a week. Sadly, we kept calling him Chubby Monkey, because we couldn't come up with a name for him. Every time we thought about it, it just made us more sad, so we kept putting off naming him. The reason it was partially so hard was the 4 boys were named after the 4 house elves in the Harry Potter books. There's only 4 house elf names that were actually mentioned, so we didn't really know where to go from there because we didn't want to go away from the theme that we had. but there was no house elves left, and none of the other names. We went through a slew of names from the Harry Potter books, and none of them really fit him. So I actually posted on one of the Facebook ferret groups. You know, I'd shared with him what had happened with Dobby and how we got this new dude, and couldn't come up with a name for him, and told him like our theme and stuff we were trying to stick through. And I'm kind of angry with myself as a Harry Potter advocate that I didn't, you know, I love Harry Potter, and I don't know why this one name didn't come to me, but a couple people actually recommended this name, and it's perfect for him. Since he's so much bigger than the rest of them, it was perfectly fitting for the name Hagrid, since Hagrid in the books is half giant. So our fourth little new boy is Hagrid. So in any videos that you'll see from now on, Hagrid is the big chubby boy. He's actually the same coloring that Dobby was. He's a champagne coloring. He's got a couple differences, like he's a little darker in the legs and then has like little white paws, but his base color is champagne. But I am going to introduce to you him right now. All right, so this is our new boy Hagrid. So you can see he's similar coloring that Dobby was, but he has a lot of differences too. His little legs are darker, his little white paws. I also brought Winky out just to kind of show a comparative in size, so you can actually see their faces. Winky's got more of the narrow face and Mr. Hagrid's kind of got this chubby little face, but he is super cute anyways, right? Keeps wanting to focus on my face. We were pretty happy we got him, not only for our sake. Obviously, Dobby left a pretty big hole in our hearts. That hole is probably never going to be able to just be filled. You know, each pet is unique and you can't just replace them. But we were able to open our hearts for another little boy. So I think with having him, it did help a little bit. But we also are very happy because Winky actually used to be attached to Dobby more than Creature or Hokey. Hi, are you gonna lick my face? And we were a little worried. Again, you know, we don't have just two ferrets, so we figured they'd be still okay. Even though usually they kind of paired off, usually Creature and Hokey and Dobby and Winky. And ironically, when we brought Hagrid home, I mean, Winky already adores him. Winky follows him everywhere, all over the room. I mean, he just chases him everywhere. It's adorable. In the cage, no matter where Hagrid is sleeping, Winky is sleeping with him. So, I am happy that, you know, we were able to, you know, still have a buddy for Winky. I don't know how Winky would have reacted if we wouldn't have gotten him a new buddy. He might have been fine. He might have just paired, you know, buddied up with Creature and Hokey. I don't know, but so yeah, that was, I guess that was the story. I should have shared it sooner. I know those who follow would want to know. It was very hard talking to anybody about it, you know, family members, people at work. It was really hard. So I'm surprised I got through it without crying, because anytime I think about it, it really makes me want to cry. But you know, some sad news, some good news. You know, I'm happy we brought this little dude home. We actually just got back from our probably last camping trip of the year. It was kind of bittersweet because when we got Dobby right before our autumn camping trip, and so that was, ooh, come here, Winky. So our autumn, because every year we take one on a camping trip in October so we can see the fall colors and do a lot of hiking with the fall colors and stuff. And that was actually Dobby's first camping and hiking trip. When we just had him, we first got him, he got to go on that trip with us. And ironically, you know, there was the trip right, you know, this is the trip we just took, was our autumn camping trip, which was Hagrid's first trip with us. So he did have a good time. You know, I was very excited to see that he was happy, and, you know, he even went swimming in Lake Superior. But I'm gonna add some video footage that I think I have of Winky and him playing right out of the gate, just to show you how much they're already good friends and stuff like that. But I know this was kind of probably a very long-winded, boring video, but It was something that I really needed to share with everyone. So I appreciate everyone who's watching. Where you going? I don't think you can fit underneath the door. Oh, maybe. Oh, Chubby fit underneath the door. Hi. Creature. Go that way. Ooh, oh yeah, the rocks. I like the rocks. Hold on. Let me take the lid off. Ready? Does he smell different? Does he smell different? Be gentle. Remember, ferrets don't play bow.